Here's everything you need to make faux velvet flocked ornaments for your Christmas tree this year. And look how beautiful they turn out. They look just like the high-end ones you can buy from the stores, and you can make them for a fraction of the price. Here's how. Get a cardboard box and some wood skewers or disposable chopsticks and some ornaments that you want to upcycle. I've had these purple ornaments for over 10 years now, and they are just not the vibe we're going for this year. So I'm taking out the silver ones, and I'm also taking out anything that has texture. Some of these have some rough glitter, or they're not smooth ornaments, so I'm just going to use the smooth ones. I'm starting off by taking off the little metal top that holds the hanger, because we're going to need the hole to paint them. Now that I've got all the tops removed and I have them separated, we are ready to get started. So first I am taking a corkscrew part of the Swiss Army knife here to poke holes in the cardboard box that will fit the skewers, or in my case, chopsticks. So you can use whatever sharp object you have on hand that is the size of the skewer you're using to poke holes into the cardboard, so that you basically have a stand for when you paint them, so that the ornaments are not sitting on the surface. So that's really all this is for, is just to elevate the ornaments so that we can paint them and they can dry completely without having to sit on the surface. I'm just doing a small batch of these to start, because this was the first time I'd ever done this and I wasn't quite sure how they were going to turn out. But I'm definitely going to make more this year because they turned out really, really nice. Okay, now we are ready to start painting. So I'm using a spray primer, and I will link all of the products I used in the description. But you can see that these don't get completely white. You can still see some of the purple showing through. It actually just looks kind of pink. But it's enough coverage that once I paint them and flock them, they will not be purple or recognizable anymore. So just get one coat of primer on here, and that should be plenty, and it'll give the paint a good surface to adhere to. Okay, we are done with the primer. So as you can see, there's still a little pink and purple, but that is totally fine. It will work perfectly. So once the primer is completely dry, so I did this the next day, now it's time to paint. So I picked 3 different colors. I'm using a black and a beige and kind of a light brown. And these were just paint samples that I had laying around. You can literally use any color you want, and that is the beauty of DIYing these instead of buying them in the store, is that you can pick the perfect color for your space and for your decor. So again, I'm just using some samples I had on hand. I wanted to keep it neutral. My Christmas tree theme was paper, so all the ornaments I made were made out of paper, tissue paper, brown paper bags, and then I made some wood ornaments, and then these flocked ornaments, which stayed within that kind of color palette. So you just want one nice coat of paint on here. Make sure you get good coverage. And now here's the fun part. Immediately after you paint, you're going to dust it with baking soda. And just liberally dust it on there. Make sure all of the paint is covered. And do this over a plate so that it catches all of the stuff that falls off. And I give it a little tap. I just tap the spoon onto the skewer to get all the excess off, and then you just let it dry. So this is super easy. So you just paint, and then this is the flocking. You just spoon over the baking soda until you've covered the entire thing and you can't see any paint. And that is it. Then you're going to let it completely dry. And don't worry, like, this looks a little bit scary at first, and this was about the time where I was wondering if this was actually going to work, because it just looked like a giant powdered sugar donut ball. But don't worry, it will be fine. But you do want to let it dry before you try to dust it off anymore. So just trust me on that. Got it pretty much covered, and then we're just going to put it back into the box and let it dry. So you can see which ones are just primed and which ones look like giant powdered donuts. So this is the light brown color that I used. I will also try to find all those paint samples and share the exact colors that I used in case you want to use the same colors. But again, you just go with whatever color scheme you want and it will work and they will look good no matter what. And again, we're dusting the ornament with the baking soda while the paint is still wet and completely covering it. And this is the third color that I chose, which is a really light tan beige color, and just keeping within that neutral color scheme. So try to make the paint as smooth as possible. You don't want to see a whole bunch of ridges from the paintbrush. So really what I'm doing is trying to cover the ornament completely and get a nice smooth finish. You could also use spray paint for these, but again, I had these paint samples on hand, so this is what I'm using. But you could for sure buy some spray paint in the colors that you want and just spray paint them just like you did the primer. That would actually be way easier, but the problem with spray paint is you can't always get the colors that you want. So with the paint samples, it's a perfect little size to do, you could do a lot of ornaments with just the little paint sample size, and you can get it in obviously any color that you want. Plus the little paint sample jars are quite a bit cheaper than a can of spray paint, and I think they would last longer as well. Okay, so you get the idea here. We're just going to quickly finish up the rest of these and then we'll move on to the last couple steps. So I'm going to let these dry overnight just to make sure, but they will dry in a couple hours. So here is where the magic happens. You're going to take another brush, so I'm using a big, round, almost looks like a makeup brush, and I think it's actually a stencil brush, but again, I'll find it and link it in the description. So you're going to use this big brush and just gently dust off all of the excess baking soda, and it is going to reveal the color and it is going to give you that flocked effect, and they really do look velvety. It gives it a really nice texture, and I was so happy after I dusted off this first one and it came out just the way that I had hoped. So just keep dusting lightly until you get most of it off and you get the look that you want without taking off so much that you're down to the paint. So again, doing the same thing with the rest, tapping off the excess and then brushing off as much as you can until you get that velvety look that you want. And I really love the black ones. I think they came out so good. All the colors came out really good, but the black ones are really, you can really see that velvet look. Okay, let's speed this up and get to the last step. We're almost done. All right, so now you can either just put back the hangers that were already on the ornaments. I am elevating the look a little bit with some white ribbon instead of the really thin silver string that they came with. What I think would look even better is some velvet ribbon. I think would look really great, especially in a color that kind of ties everything together, or maybe matching colors for the ornaments, but you can get a little creative there. So I just used some white satin ribbon and they came out good. Again, I just had this on hand and didn't want to go buy anything new because I was trying to keep this as budget friendly as possible. So adding back on the little metal hangers, and this is the final look. I love how they came out. I think they're so pretty and they look really high end, even though this is a very budget-friendly DIY project. So here they are on the tree. Like I said, my tree theme was paper. I will also link the big white flower puffs that I made. I will link the tutorial for that as well. And also the paper bag snowflakes. So if you, and the kusudama flowers. So all of these ornaments were handmade by me, but they are all very easy to make. The kusudama flowers, I will say, take a lot of time, but they are not difficult. And they're just made out of wrapping paper. So, oh, and there's a disco ball ornament that I also made. So you can have fun with these. They're really beautiful. I think they look very elegant. They could also be displayed in a bowl or in a glass hurricane, but they do look really pretty on the tree. So thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more craft projects and DIYs, and have a very happy holiday season.